This is Don Lemon, the former CNN anchor turned independent journalist. And by journalist, I mean accomplice. On Sunday, January 18th, 2026, Lemon joined up with a bunch of protesters led by Nakima Levy-Armstrong of the Racial Justice Network.
Hey everybody, welcome to the program. We just got into Minneapolis a little bit ago and did some reconnaissance on the ground. I'm speaking to an organization there that's gearing up for resistance and protest.
Reconnaissance? So what are they doing? Why would Don Lemon fly all the way to Minneapolis? Well, it was a secret.
They're getting the operation together. Again, this is an operation that is secret, so I don't want to get, because they are strategizing, I don't want to get too much of their information in there. But okay, so we're going to go to the operation again. We're not going to give any of the information away. We're doing this clandestine secret operation. These operations are surprise operations. Again, can't tell you where they're going and where we're gathered right now. Can't tell you what is going to happen, but you're going to watch it live unfold here on the Don Lemon Show.
So it turns out that the Lemon Gang was heading to a church. And notice how worried Don is about ruining the surprise. Since when does a journalist worry about blowing the cover of the people that they're supposedly just covering?
We are here. Now, do you think if you just have it, I think maybe if you just have it on the church, but if they see me, they're gonna know.
If they see me in the camera, they're going to know that they're about to be ambushed. But, if you're just there to chronicle a public event, who cares if they see you? You only hide your face when you know that you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing.
And I'm gonna go inside.
Always bet on black.
Always bet on black.
So Lemon slipped inside the church, and it turns out that the activists weren't there to pray. They were there to interrupt the service at City's church.
Hands up! Don't shoot! Don't shoot!
Hands up, don't shoot. In a church. Makes sense to me. What's your problem? So the question is, why target this specific church?
This is a clandestine mission. I think they found out according to them, this is according to Operation Pull-Up, that one of the pastors here is a member of ICE. And so here we go.
So yes, it turns out that one of the pastors listed on City's church's website is David Easterwood, who is also the acting field office director of U.S. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement in St. Paul.
David Easterwood.
Are you sure that he's a...
Yes, yeah. City's church, yes. And that's why we're here, demanding justice for Renee Good and letting them know that this will not stand.
So their justification for barging into a religious service is that one of the pastors has a day job that they don't like.
I am a reverend on top of being a lawyer and an activist. So I come here in the power of the Almighty God for righteousness, truth, and justice.
Oh, I see. She's a reverend, so she has almighty jurisdiction to crash other people's services. But don't worry, Don Lemon, he's totally neutral.
We're here just chronicling and reporting. We're not part of the activists, but we're here just reporting on them. But anyways, I'm not going to get in the middle of it because I'm not here as an activist. I'm here as a journalist. So
I'm a journalist. I'm not going to get in the middle of it. But then 5 seconds later, he's lecturing us on why this disruption is actually a good thing.
This is the beginning of what's going to happen here. When you violate people's due process, when you pull people off the street, you start dragging them and hurting them and not abiding by the Constitution, when you start doing all of that, people get upset and angry. And if you remember what the civil rights movement was about.
Journalism is supposed to be neutral and unbiased. What Don Lemon is doing is advocacy.
For some reason, in our modern era, people think that in order to have protests, you got to be, cordoned off to a certain area and, what time you can protest. There's nothing in the Constitution that tells you what time you can protest. You can protest at any time. That's the whole point of it, is to disrupt.
Actually, Don, there are laws about trespassing on private property. The First Amendment doesn't give you the right to scream in a house of God while people are praying.
Our church had gathered for worship, which we do every Sunday, and we were interrupted by this group of protesters.
Yeah.
We asked them to leave, and they obviously have not left. So,
What do you think of this?
I mean, this is unacceptable. It's shameful. It's shameful to interrupt a public gathering of Christians in worship. So, I have to take care of my flock.
Okay, but listen, we live in there's a constitution in the First Amendment to freedom of speech and freedom to assemble and protest.
Yeah. We're here to worship. We're here to worship Jesus because that's the hope of these cities. That's the hope of the world is Jesus Christ.
I want to be very respectful. Please don't push me, though.
In no way was Don Lemon pushed. He's full of it. And he's manufacturing a confrontation here.
We're here to worship Jesus.
Yes.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why we're here. Okay. That's what we're about.
Don't you think Jesus would be understanding
we're about
and love these folks?
We're about spreading the love of Jesus.
But did you try to talk to them as a Christian?
No one is willing to talk.
Okay.
But then moments later, Lemon speaks to a parishioner and is like, "Why won't the pastor talk to the activists?"
I think maybe if the pastor would try to calm things down and say, let's all talk together and make this peaceful and not be so us against them.
I think that it's good to talk, but then why don't we do that, right?
Yeah.
Fact check true. They had zero intention of having a conversation. Just listen to one of the agitators, professional protester William Kelly, aka the Woke Farmer.
Shame on you! Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Where are your people? Why are you not at Whipple every day fighting for the humanity? You drink your coffee, you got your jewelry, you have your nice clothes, but what do you do? What do you do to stand for your Somali and Latino communities?
What would Jesus do in this situation? I know. He'd interrupt a prayer service to scream at a random woman for the high crime of drinking a latte.
This is a juxtaposition. This shows you just how divided America is. When you look at the protesters here, and then you look at the people there who are praying, and you know what was the interesting thing? If these two groups could just get together, they might figure out what to do.
Listen to Don Lemon pretending to be the wise philosopher. If only they communicated. They are communicating, Don. One side is saying, please let us pray, and the other side is screaming about white supremacy. I think the positions are pretty clear.
As you can see, all these pretend Christians, all these comfortable white people who are living lavish, comfortable lives while children are dragged into concentration camps. You're living real life, nice lives with your lattes, doing absolutely nothing for your Latino and Somali brothers and sisters. You come here to a man wearing a suit. Is a preacher? Did Jesus wear a suit? Did Jesus profit off the words? No!
He is really fixated on the coffee. Thou shalt not drink lattes.
One of the members who looks to be really upset, a young person, the pastor is trying to calm him down over there. And yeah, so there you go. Hugging his kid. And you know, I've imagined it's uncomfortable and traumatic for the people here, but again, careful, it's very slippery right here. Yeah. It's uncomfortable and traumatic for the people here, but that's what really, careful, please, really slippery, not kidding. That's what protesting is about, and so.
It's traumatic, but that's what protesting is about. Don Lemon admitted that they are inflicting trauma on the parishioners, and his response is essentially, oh well.
Can you understand why they're angry?
I don't understand any of this because I'm a simple man. I'm a simple man who loves the Lord and is a good father. So this is what we look forward to, is coming, being with our family and praising Jesus, and that's not something that we have to run away from.
Can you understand why they're angry? This man is a victim of an angry mob screaming at his family. But in Don Lemon's world, this is the guy that needs to explain himself. Disgraceful. So Nakima Levy Armstrong, aka the alleged ringleader, was invited to go on CNN to make her case.
Yeah, so I want to explain what happened. So we've heard reports that BLM stormed, City's church, which is absolutely not true. We came in a very orderly fashion.
Orderly? We just watched you and your gang shouting down a pastor in his own pulpit.
We did not rush into that church. We actually went and sat down and participated in the service.
Yes, under the guise of being normal people, but in reality, you were just waiting for the right moment to attack.
And after the pastor prayed, that is when I stood up and asked him a question in response to his prayer. And then he responded to me. And then I proceeded to ask him about Pastor David Easterwood and how is it possible for him to serve as both the pastor and the director of ICE for Minnesota. And instead of responding to me, as soon as I said the name David Easterwood, the pastor said, "Shame, shame."
No, he said, "Shame, shame," because Nekima and her group had stood up and started walking to the front of the church to hijack the service.
Renee Good! Renee Good! Renee Good!
So I want to clarify that. We didn't rush in, we didn't bust in. We were a part of the service until I got up and posed that question to the pastor.
All right, and obviously I'm not going to dispute your saying what happened.
Obviously, I'm not going to dispute what happened. Why not, Aaron? This is literally your job. You have video footage of these thugs screaming and taking over the altar. But sure, just take the activist's word for it.
I'm not just a lawyer and an activist. I am also an ordained reverend and itinerant preacher. And so for me personally, to help lead that protest, this was about a reckoning. Being able to go into a so-called place of Christianity.
You heard that right. So-called place of Christianity. And listen to Don Lemon kind of repeat her point.
So there is a certain degree of racism there, and there's a certain degree of entitlement. I think people who are, in the religious groups like that, it's not the type of Christianity that I practice, but I think that they're entitled, and that entitlement comes from a supremacy, a white supremacy.
So if you want to worship in peace without being screamed at, you're a white supremacist. Got it.
I mean, my mother is a pastor, and so I grew up in Christianity. I grew up in the church. And one of the things that I remember about Jesus Christ himself is that when things weren't going right in the church, he went in and he flipped tables.
Today we had the honor to protest with Nekima Armstrong and the Racial Justice Network. Just like Jesus did, we went into that church and we flipped tables.
Yeah, just like Jesus. Anyway, following the attack, Harmeet Dillon, the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights at the DOJ, announced on X that there would be an investigation into accusations that the protesters violated the FACE Act. 18 U.S. Code Section 248, the FACE Act, is a law that makes it a crime to intimidate or interfere with any person lawfully exercising the First Amendment right of religious freedom at a place of religious worship.
They're going to come at me with charges, and I'm not scared of that. There's no base for these charges. I did not block them from, their service. They welcomed us in. They never asked us to leave.
We asked them to leave, and they obviously have not left.
Come and get me, Pam Bondi, you f***ing traitorous bitch.
Yep, just like Jesus. Now, given Pam Bondi's Department of Justice record, I was highly skeptical that there would be any arrests into the church attack. And to my utter shock, it was announced that not only was ringleader Nekima Levy Armstrong arrested, but also Chantil Louise Allen, who is a Black Lives Matter leader and a member of the St. Paul School Board. Also arrested was professional maniac William Kelly. The DOJ is promising more arrests related to the storming of the church, but what about Don Lemon? Where's his arrest? Well, remember, his defense from the very beginning was that he was just being a journalist.
Fake right-wing propaganda news alert from this supposed right-angle news network, supposed network, that I led a protest into a church this morning in Minneapolis. That is complete BS. First of all, I had no idea who the organization was until I arrived this morning. And number two, that's what every journalist should be doing, exactly what I did. What I did was report, chronicle, and commit an act of journalism, which is what every journalist should be doing.
So first of all, we're supposed to believe that Don Lemon had no idea what the Radical Justice Network was, despite the fact that the leader of the group, Nikema Levy Armstrong, was on his show 2 days prior.
Nikema Levy Armstrong is here. She is a lawyer and activist and the former president of the Minneapolis NAACP. How are you? Good to see you. We're on. We're not saying what it is, what's going on, but thank you.
Yes, thank you for inviting us to the thing that we have absolutely no idea about. Why are we here?
After we do this operation, you'll see it live. We're doing this clandestine secret operation.
We are going to this clandestine secret mission after we do this operation. The fact is that Don Lemon knew exactly what was going to occur, and it's safe to say that he was probably in on it. At best, he knew about it and he let it happen. And that's conspiracy.
Wow. I kept thinking, seriously, while we were there, I kept thinking, holy crap, they're gonna come in and try to arrest us.
Notice she said, I thought they were going to arrest us, not, I thought that they were going to arrest the group. Again, this clearly points to Don Lemon not only being a part of it, but he knew that he and his radical leftist co-protesters were breaking the law. So here's the million-dollar question. Why wasn't Don Lemon arrested on the same day as these three? Well, reportedly, a magistrate judge refused to approve the criminal complaint. Why? Well, probably because Don Lemon is a journalist. And after a 4-day investigation, I'm guessing that the judge wasn't provided concrete evidence as to how Don Lemon broke the law. But that could change down the line. Even so, if Don Lemon is charged and arrested, my prediction is that he'll never see a day in prison. Because journalism.
I went to Minnesota to report. That was my mission, to report. When I got there, my mission was to report. And when I got there, I reported. And that's what I did. As a reporter, I was not part of any protest group. I am not a protester. I said several times that I am not a protester. I am a journalist. And so some people don't understand what that means. Maybe you don't have enough. Well, I know the Trump administration doesn't have a healthy respect for journalism or journalists because they attack journalists at every measure.
For a guy preaching about transparency, Don Lemon sure did spend a lot of time whispering about a secret clandestine operation so that the victims wouldn't know that he was coming.
I believe wholeheartedly, 100% in the First Amendment.
Just not the part about protecting individuals' right to practice their faith, right, Don? Anyway, that's it for now. Head over to my super cool merch store at don'twalkrun.shop. Make sure that you're subscribed to the channel for more updates. And as always, thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope to see you next time, if there is next time.